Well, first of all, I would like to welcome you to attend the special meeting of the Constitutional Affairs Panel. So for the objective of our meeting today, we are here to discuss the methods for selecting the CE in 2017 and for forming the electrical in 2016. The government has issued a consultation paper on this. And for our meeting, we also would like to listen to your views. Later on, I'll ask you to speak one by one in order, and each will be given 3 minutes. And after 3 minutes, there will be a bell. And I hope that you can wrap up your speech as fast as possible. Now, if you have already given us if you have brought with you a submission, please give our staff a copy, and it will be photocopied and distributed to our members. And your remarks will not be protected by the Electrical Powers and Privileges Ordinance. And when you speak, please speak close to the microphone so that we can hear you clearly. If you cannot hear too clearly, you can also put on the earphone. So after making your speech, our members may have questions for you. Then I will ask the Secretary for Constitutional and Mainland Affairs, Mr. Lau Kong-hwa, to give you a response. And first of all, Mr. Lo Chi-wing. Good afternoon. I speak on behalf of the Hong Kong Wearing Apparel Industry Employees General Union. Starting from December, we have been consulting our members, so I would like to tell you what our members think. Now, first of all, most of our members think that for the constitutional structure of Hong Kong, it should be in compliance with the Constitution of China and the Basic Law. As for the constitutional developments of the SAR, we think that we have to comply with the 4 conditions set out in the Basic Law. That is, it has to be conducive to our prosperity, as to progress in a gradual and orderly manner, it has to look at the actual situation of Hong Kong, etc. And when it comes to the nominating committee, the formation of it and the composition of it, we have also consulted our members, and we have the following suggestions. First of all, for the NC members, we think that there should be 1,600 of them. As for the composition or the formation of the NC, it can follow the line of the election committee. That is, it will be divided into several sectors, and the members should be returned by election. And also for the NC, there should be new sectors, for example, elderly service sector and women's sector. And also the labor sector as well as the DC sector should be expanded. Among the NC members, I think there should be 80 representatives from the labor sector, and so the representativeness can be expanded and more people can take part in the work of the NC. And the NC can also nominate 2 to 3 CE candidates. We have made reference to other countries' practices, and they would have about 2 to 3 candidates. This will be conducive to people's selection, and also we think that this should be a 1 person, 1 vote system, and the CE must win over half of the valid votes before he can be elected. Otherwise, there should be a re-election. So these are the views of our members. Second, Ms. Zhang Chi-man. Thank you, Chairman. Now, when it comes to the consultation document, our union attaches importance to this. That is, we think that everything must be in compliance with the Basic Law and the NPCSC decisions. Now, why do we have such a view? Now, because now we are talking about methods for selecting the CE and forming the electrical, and all these are based on the relevant provisions in the Basic Law. Now, in the 80s, consultations have been carried out, and the Basic Law was promulgated in the 90s, and it shows that the central authorities have trusted us. The Hong Kong society should look at it from the perspective of trust. Now, it should trust that the central authorities have the sincerity to implement universal suffrage in Hong Kong. The Basic Law is the constitutional document and is built on the Constitution of China. So when it comes to discussing the relevant methods, we have to work in accordance with this framework. If we go beyond this framework and just go in our own favored directions, I don't think that's conducive to our discussions and negotiations. As for the formation of the NC, we think that there should be equal participations and it should not be expanded indiscriminately. While some subsectors can be created under the 4 major sectors. But we must uphold the spirit of equal participation. The electorate base can be expanded appropriately. Some of the organization votes can be changed into individual votes. Now, the NC has the right to nominate or the power to nominate, and as for the nomination procedure, the candidates must receive over half of the votes of the NC members. And eventually, we hope that the CE can be returned by 1 person, 1 vote, and the candidate should win over half of the valid votes. And I would like to add that now we are discussing all this. We think that the SARG should do more work in terms of educating the people so that people can have a better understanding of one country, 2 systems. Thank you. Next, Mr. Chow Lin Kiu. Chairman, members, good afternoon. I speak on behalf of the Hong Kong Construction Industry Employees General Union. Our union thinks that when it comes to selecting the CE, we must comply with the Basic Law and the NPCSC's 2 decisions. Now, no matter whether it's the pro-establishment camp or the pan-democrats, I think we all agree that the core value of Hong Kong is the rule of law. So when it comes to selecting the CE, we cannot go against the Basic Law. Otherwise, Hong Kong will fall into chaos. Our union thinks that if an elected CE cannot be approved by the central authorities, it will be very difficult for him to rule, and Hong Kong will become chaotic. And our construction industry will be most affected. We will have no work to do. And for Occupy Central, the professors and the legislators, they are paid anyway, but we will not be able to make a living. So you must be lawful, you must be reasonable, and you cannot circumvent the election committee. Otherwise, there will be a lot of problems. For the NC, the number of members can be increased appropriately, for example, from 1,200 to 1,600. But this should be done in a proportionate manner. And after nomination, the approach should be 1 person, 1 vote, and the winner should be able to garner over half of the valid votes. Only by doing so can the CE rules effectively, and there should be 3 to 4 candidates because it will be more competitive. Thank you. Mr. Andrew Fong. Mr. Chairman, just now I had lunch with friends, and most of them are very pessimistic. It seems that it's very difficult to reach a consensus. But some people said that, well, there are always solutions are always more than problems. So before we find a solution, we need some indicative principles and agree with the 4 principles outlined in the consultation documents. But maybe we should consider 3 other supplementary principles, and it's easier for us to forge consensus. Now, first of all, there must be competitiveness. Now, because for the democratic system, it should allow different views, and people should enjoy equal election opportunities. Now, we respect the basic law, but we should allow people from different political parties to be nominated. So this is one of the supplementary principles that I want to put forward. And second, now when we talked about constitutional development, we have to consider this. That is, for such kind of reforms, would it be conducive to build a better society? Now we have to consider the future system, whether this future system would give us a more quality society. Otherwise, even if we have universal suffrage, we may not have a better life. In particular, lately, the SARG has found it very difficult to rule. There are a lot of confrontations in society, and it's very difficult to initiate reforms. So there must be a premise. That is, whether we can foster consensus politics. It's not just about consensus on election methods. Is also about our future development direction and about political party cooperations. This is a premise. And thirdly, the proposal should be able to develop and improve. Now, this should not be an ultimate option because the world changes all the time. Well, maybe this system can last for 10 years or so, but this should not be the ultimate option. There should be room for future development. Maybe it's not ideal at the moment, but it should be acceptable and it can serve as a basis on which we can develop further. Next, Mr. Kwok Chong Man. Now, today we are talking about selecting the CE and forming the LegCo. Now, I would like to talk about the number of seats in LegCo. Over the past decades, we understand that there should be 2 levels of councils in Hong Kong, and DCs should be reformed. Now, in order to nurture new talents, if we want more people to be LegCo members, then we can increase the number of seats in LegCo. For equal and fair election, we want every voter to have the same rights, and the value of their votes should be the same. So we should only have one constituency. If we divide our territory into different constituencies, is against universal suffrage. Well, Hong Kong Island can be divided up into 2 constituencies. The strongest should win. And then for the second point, for FCs, they have a lot of drawbacks. Now, even if the number of voters increases, still is not in line with a fair and just election. And this is not in line with the provision in the basic law, that is to progress in a gradual, orderly manner. Now, if one person has more than 2 votes, and now we are just 1 term away from the 2020 LegCo election, so why don't we make use of this public consultation so that we can be prepared for the future LegCo election? If we continue like this, we will be encountering more problems.
Proportional representation can help us break the deadlock, but then do our FCs have the courage to face the challenges? Only heaven knows. And in fact, I'm addressing LegCo members. Now you can see that there are only 5 LegCo members. Mr. Tony Chair, you represent the architecture and planning constituency, and are you willing to make some sacrifices to pave the way for universal suffrage? And then Mr. Charles Mock from the IT constituency, are you willing to adopt the indirect election mode for the district council constituency? All right, time's up. We have Mr. So Pat Chan. Yes, Chairman. Thank you. I represent the Harbour Transportation Workers General Union. Now we see that universal suffrage is an important step in democratic development, but there are no standards as such. Different places and different countries formulate their election systems based on their own laws and their own circumstances. Hong Kong is an SAR of the PRC. We are part of the PRC. We are not a country, and development is very important for Hong Kong. Development is also one of the core values of Hong Kong, and so Hong Kong's political development must comply with the Basic Law and the NPCSC's decision. According to the Basic Law and the NPCSC's decision in 2007, there are three important steps: making nominations, and then one man, one vote, and then making the appointment. Now we are of the view that at the moment there are 4 sectors in the election committee, and the nominating should be based on this. But then there can be 1,600 members in the NC, 100 additional members for each sector. So we can make reference to the method for forming the EC. And then the NC should nominate 2 to 4 candidates. A maximum of 4 would be preferred. And then concerning electing the CE by universal suffrage, we are of the view that a candidate can be elected only if he can secure over half of the total number of votes. And if no one can get over half of the votes, then there will be a second round for the top 2. And we understand that the power to appoint the CE on the part of the CPG is substantive. And so I think there should be another election if the CPG refuses to appoint the candidate elected. Thank you. Mr. Choi Hieu Kit, yes, thank you. In democracy, it's not as simple as observing rule by the majority. In a community, we must not sacrifice the interests of any sector. Now, we must not allow authoritarianism by the majority. We should not allow the majority to bully the minority. Now, I think elections are only part of the democratic system. Other elements include checks and balances and also the integrity of the system. Huntington said that a regime returned by elections might have a lot of drawbacks: low efficiency, short-sightedness, a lack of responsibility, or control by a small minority. And such a government may not be able to respond to the wishes of all the people, but then it won't make the system undemocratic. So while we promote democratic development, we should try to prevent the problems that I've just talked about. We hope that people from different sectors can have their representatives. We do not want to see a lot of disputes. In fact, in many democratic nations in the West, they have multi-pronged nominating systems, and the threshold may only be 1 to 2% of the total number of voters. For example, Finland and Poland. But or should I say the premier or the prime minister has powers, but the president does not. And then we understand that in the U.S., the candidate needs to have a certain number of voters nominating in each state. So in fact, the threshold is very high. The so-called three-pronged approach is similar to the system in Taiwan. So we need to have the support of 1.5% of the total number of voters in order to get the admission ticket, so to speak. But then the political ecology in Taiwan is very different from that in Hong Kong, and I think we should consider very carefully whether we should bring the Taiwanese system to Hong Kong. Mr. Desmond Chairman, I am the chairman of the Fraud Does Not Leave Communist Party Remove Forum Committee. We do not want to see unfair and unjust methods to select the CE. I want to say this. Now, according, there was the warring, there were the 6 warring states, and there was an analysis of what went wrong. So I want to say that we end up having this present situation because Tam Yu Chong and other drafters of the basic law did not really fight for nominations by the citizens in the CE election. And I want to tell the Democratic Party that it is backpedaling, it is trying to pull wool over the eyes of voters who supported you. In fact, I think you are trying to yield to pressure. And I'm sure in the next election, the number of seats your party wins will decrease until it becomes 0. You should not remain silent. You should not allow the spokesman of the Communist Party here to say things to deceive Hong Kong people. And I want to tell the Communist Party that Hong Kong people will take action if you continue to commit such vicious acts. Mr. Lam Wing Yin, thank you. Now, in fact, this consultation document consists of 2 parts. First of all, the CE election and then the legislative election. I believe most people will concentrate on the part on CE election. Hong Kong people really hope to be able to elect their CE by one man, one vote. Since the reunification, we have had a number of CEs. Why is it that since 1997 we have seen so many disputes? Why is it that the government has been finding it so difficult to move forward? Now, one man, one vote can't solve all the problems, but then at least the elected CE knows that he is not accountable to just a few hundred people. He is accountable to all Hong Kong people. The there are suggestions that there should be the trio track nomination system. The API says that we should talk. Let's talk. But I want to know whether the government will really listen to other people's views, or has the government already screened out options that it considers as breaching the basic law? If the latter happens, then it's not true consultation, it's fake consultation. Now, in fact, since the reunification, many policies have not had the support of the people, and I think one of the reasons is the split voting system. I think functional constituency should be abolished. The split voting system should be abolished. I think this is the opinion of Hong Kong people, and I hope that electoral members will be willing to accept the public's suggestions. Yes, thank you. Yes. Mr. Li Wengfeng, I represent the Hong Kong Quanzhou Clans United Association. Now, Article 45 of the Basic Law states that nominations must be made by a broadly representative nominating committee. The Basic Law doesn't say nominations by citizens or nominations by political parties. Now, some say that there may be screening by the nominating committee. Now the CE candidate must be at least 45 years old. So does it mean that those under 45 have already been screened out? And then it is said that 50,000 votes will be required for citizens, for nomination by the citizens. So if I can't get 50,000 votes, then does it mean that I have been screened out? And then nominations by political parties. Now, of course, a political party will choose only one of the party members to stand in the election. Then, then does it mean that I am also screened out if I'm not selected in that political party? I'm of the view that there can be improvements to the present system. For example, we can increase the representativeness of the NC. And considering the number of candidates, we are of the view that 2 to 4 would be appropriate. There shouldn't be more than 4 candidates. If there are too many candidates, then the voters will find it difficult to cast their votes. And then if we have a large number of candidates and each one of them secures about 20% of the votes, then what should we do? So I think it's important that the CE be able to get over half of the votes of the nominating committee. The CE is the head of the SAR, and of course only the brightest person should become the CE. And I think it's important that this be borne in mind. Thank you. Mr. So Wing On, Chairman, I am an individual. I've been living in Hong Kong for over 40 years, and I want to say that I really want to see the CE elected by universal suffrage. Now, there are some who are advocating nominations by the people, by the citizens. Now, I do not agree. We're talking about one man, one vote only. Now, what if we have 2.4 million people doing the nominations, and then we may have tens of thousands of candidates, and that would mean chaos, and also that would mean a waste of public funds. And I want to say that screening is inevitable in different events. Now, say for example, you need to choose the best athletes to represent Hong Kong. Even if it's a beauty pageant, you try to choose the one who is the most beautiful. So I think we should abide by the basic law. Now, say for example, the CEO of a company, if he is always at loggerheads with the boss, then I'm sure that company will collapse very soon. So it's important that the CE be accepted by the Central People's Government. And I think these words are most important, gradual and orderly progress. I think it's extremely wise to prescribe that our election system be formulated in the light of the actual situation and in accordance with the principle of gradual and orderly progress. It's essential that we observe the principle of gradual and orderly progress. We shouldn't try to do everything overnight. In 1996, there were 400 members in the committee, and now there are 1,200. And I think in 2017, we should have 1,600 or even 2,400 members. And to increase efficiency and to lower costs and to also minimize disputes, there can't be too many CE candidates. 2 to 3 would be appropriate. And then if we can't make any progress with regard to our political system, then that would not be to the benefit of Hong Kong. So let's be pragmatic, let's be objective, let's be rational, let's talk and try to achieve the objective of electing the UC by universal suffrage in 2017. Mr. Tony Chang, thank you. I believe most Hong Kong people, including myself, think that Hong Kong is a blessed place, and we have a population of 7 million, and there will be major changes in the year 2017, and that is we are going to elect our CE by one man, one vote. So I hope that electoral members can consider very carefully the way forward. Should we try to achieve gradual and orderly progress, or should we want to achieve progress, a drastic progress or great progress overnight?
For the 2017 CE elections, I think it would be better to have 2 to 4 candidates. That would be sufficient competition. And I think there should be a nominating committee to select the 2 to 4 candidates. I also hope that the members here will not merely try to serve your party's interests and gamble with the interests of the 7 million people in Hong Kong. If you lose in that game, it will be a big loss for Hong Kong. And we can look at the examples in Taiwan and Thailand. Universal suffrage is not the panacea for all social ills. And if you look at the Western countries, the democratic process takes quite a long time. So please follow the gradual and orderly progress principle. Mr. Kenny Chen, now people look forward to the election of CE by universal suffrage in 2017. Now, given the dissent right now, in order to reach agreement in the next few years, we need to follow certain principles in our exchanges. That is, we must have at heart the interests of Hong Kong, follow the basic law and the decisions of the MPCSC, and the reaching of consensus has also been in accordance with the basic law. The nominating committee should be the only organization with the right to nominate candidates. We do not support any other means that would weaken the rights of the nominating committee, such as public nomination. However, I think we can be broader participation, but we must make reference to the principle of balanced participation. There shouldn't be too many candidates. 2 to 4 would be the right number. The basic requirement is that the candidate should love Hong Kong and the country and should be acceptable to the Central People's Government, because it's very important that he is acceptable to the public of Hong Kong and to the Central People's Government. Mr. Chris Young, if possible, we should elect some person, a candidate who loves Hong Kong and the country in 2017 as the CE, because if this person is at loggerheads with the CPG all the time, it would not be desirable. And in the CE elections, I agree that 2 to 4 would be the right number of candidates. If there is only one, of course, there is no choice. If there are 3 or 4, then people can choose the person who is more qualified. Now, as for the nominating members of the NC, we think the membership of the NC can be increased, say, to 1,600 or 2,000. We all live in Hong Kong. These people should not try to serve their own interests, but to serve the interests of Hong Kong. Mr. Kevin Oh, now for the methods of selecting the CE in 2017, now I think that the nominating committee's membership can be adjusted. Youth groups can be added. I also propose that there should be more publicity among the young people. Next, Mr. Poon Wai Chan. I would like to offer certain views on the CE elections. Now, there have been many proposals in the community. I think that's good, but all proposals must be in line with the basic law, because basic law is the foundation stone of Hong Kong's rule of law, without which the rule of law will not have any basis. So all discussion and proposals should follow Article 45 of the Basic Law and the interpretation by the NPCSC. Only then can we have more pragmatic discussion instead of wasting too much time and resources. Now, on the candidates for the CE, we think these people must love Hong Kong and the country, and the candidate must support the Basic Law and the one country, two systems regime, because this is very important for Hong Kong's economic development. Hong Kong is not a country, it's a special administration region within China. So Hong Kong people must love the country and their own territory, the SAR. So if the candidate is not someone who loves Hong Kong and the territory, then if he wins, how can he work for the benefit of Hong Kong and the country? And how can he represent Hong Kong and lead Hong Kong and make contribution to the country? So unless he is such a person, he may be the cause of calamity. Now, so the election must be in accordance with the Article 45 of Basic Law and interpretation by the NBCSC. And secondly, the candidate must love Hong Kong and the country, and he must support the Basic Law and one country, two systems. Thank you. Next, Man Si Yi. Good afternoon. I am an individual, so I offer my personal views. I think the CE should be someone who loves Hong Kong and the country. Hong Kong is part of Hong Kong. Internal solidarity is very important. We must have internal solidarity before we can function properly in the international arena. Now, Hong Kong gets solid and strong support from China, especially economically. Now, if the CE does not have such belief, how can he lead Hong Kong and so that Hong Kong can play a role on the international stage? Only a person who loves Hong Kong and the country can continue to lead Hong Kong and make a contribution in the developments of the 21st century. And also, we must have our discussion based on the Basic Law. Now, if we do not rely on the Basic Law, we would have forgotten the core values for Hong Kong. So we must be in accordance with the Article 45 of the Basic Law and the interpretations by the NPCSC. And I would like to point out that the nominating committee's powers afforded by the Basic Law should not be diminished. Now, the composition of the NC can be expanded, but its powers should not be reduced. Mr. Low Shi Cheng, I represent Motor Transport Workers General Union. We have submitted a written submission with 8 main points. Now, according to Article 45 of the Basic Law, the CEs will be selected through local discussion, and then the Central People's Government will approve the CE, and the CE will be selected on the basis of gradual and orderly progress and the balanced participation and so on. The nominating committee will nominate the candidates, and then he will be chosen by universal suffrage on a broadly representative basis in accordance with democratic procedures. He will be selected by one person, one vote. Now, the Central People's Government will have the power to endorse the candidate. Now, any proposal that tries to circumvent the powers of the nominating committee may be considered inconsistent with Article 45 of the Basic Law. We think that the nominating committee should have a membership of 1,600. Now, the electrical members, etc., that sector should be maintained at 300 now, and also 180 sectors. New seats should be given to the labor sector. Now, the four sectors very often represent the employers, so we think that the seats for the labor sector should be increased more substantially. Now, the first three sectors should have the membership increase from 300 to 400. And there should be democratic procedures, and the nominating committee will allow anyone who has been jointly nominated by 100 members to stand. So there should be I'm the one who chairs the meeting, Ms. Ko Yong Lai. I'm letting the speaker finish his comments. I will be responsible for the order of the meeting. Well, what are the rules of procedure for? Please watch your attitude. If you want a row, this is not the way we organize meetings. What I said was, I hope that the speakers should try to conclude within 3 minutes. I have the discretionary power. Please leave. Next, Ms. Ko Yong Lai. Members of the Constitutional Affairs Panel, members of deputations, we thank the CAP for letting me speak on the methods of selection of CE in 2017. I was born in Hong Kong and grew up locally. I have three main points. Firstly, a matter of principle. I feel that Hong Kong is a very fortunate place. Most members of the public love Hong Kong, the rule of law, the harmony, economic prosperity. Of course, democracy is very important. However, that has to come about by through gradual and orderly progress. We think extreme means should not be employed. We support democracy, but social stability is also important. What happened just now is a good example. Social stability is very important, not just democracy. Now, it's this kind of voices that has caused some changes in Hong Kong. You might have noted that Hong Kong's economic development has been very slow in recent times. We have been surpassed by many countries. The investors feel very uncertain, and there's been an increase in the number of immigrants. Now, we love democracy in Hong Kong. We value rule of law. On the other hand, we also value a harmonious society that is rational in our discussion. Now, Hong Kong people, do they want a city that's full of political struggles, such as that in Thailand? If that's a city that we prefer. Now, in the past decade or more of Hong Kong's history, what makes us proud most is Hong Kong's economic development. Now, should Hong Kong see more political struggles rather than more economic development? Of course, I want Hong Kong to be a more economically successful city. I support the election committee composed of 38 subsectors. Although they do not 100% of the public, but it's broadly representative. It represents the different levels of society, especially those that contribute to the economy. And also, it takes time to cultivate political talent. Do we have immediately a political Superman to rule Hong Kong? If we are too radical or hasty, then Hong Kong may turn into a political society, a political city. Now, I support one person, one vote. I support democracy. I also support Hong Kong should remain a largely economic city. Now, I hope that we will have a harmonious society.
Next, Mr. Liu Liu. Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon. With regard to the method for selecting the CE in 2017 and for forming the electrical in 2016, I would like to express our views on behalf of the Confucius Academy. First of all, well, for the selection of the CE, it should be conducted in accordance with the basic law and the decision of the APCSC. Now, this is to embody the spirit of rule of law in Hong Kong. And 2,500 years ago, Confucius already advocated free election. And in his articles, he already said that the world belongs to the public. Now, we should be harmonious and meritorious. He suggests that we should rule peacefully And I hope that we can all learn from Confucius so that we can discuss this in a peaceful, rational, and pragmatic manner. We should be more accommodating, and we should tolerate all sorts of views. Now, for the 2017 CE election, I think that the number of nominating committee members can be increased so that it can be more representative. Our ultimate goal is universal suffrage, but we should look at the actual situation in Hong Kong, and we should progress in a gradual and orderly manner. And thirdly, now the CE candidate must be a person that loves the country and loves Hong Kong. Now, although the Basic Law has not stipulated blatantly, we know this very well. Now, Hong Kong is a special administrative region of China, and the CE plays an important role. Plays the important role as a bridge. So he must love his country and loves Hong Kong, so that he can work for the welfare of Hong Kong people. Ms. Yu Kwai Chi, thank you. Members, good afternoon. I'm the executive chairman of the Hua Qing Society in Hong Kong. Our members come from all parts of the world, and now we all live in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, we have been working hard for years, and we have been contributing to the Society of Hong Kong. We have been paying tax. We cherish Hong Kong. However, over the past few years, we saw that there have been a lot of disputes about constitutional development in Hong Kong. We are afraid that this would affect the stability and future development of Hong Kong. So in order for Hong Kong to develop healthily, we want to speak out today. And I have three major points to make. First of all, the world belongs to the public. And if this is done, then we are not afraid of anything. Well, we appreciate the government is not afraid of hardship and is trying to achieve a universal suffrage. Well, we need rulers and compasses when we draw circles and squares. So we had our basic law. Well, that was drafted on the basis of a public consultation, and it has also prescribed for the basic methods for selecting the CE and forming the electrical. So basic law is sacred. So we should promote basic law in Hong Kong so that all the people in Hong Kong would adhere or would abide by the basic law. As for the consultation document, is in line with the basic law, and the decision of the MPCSC is lawful, and it's a lawful piece of document, so there's no need to query it, and we should not do that. Now, if we continue to argue, it would only become an obstacle for Hong Kong's constitutional development, and it is against the spirit of rule of law. Now, before the law, everybody is equal. It's not that you have a higher voice, you are more reasonable. We have to work in accordance with the law. Article 45 and 68 of the Basic Law stipulates that we should look at the actual situation in Hong Kong, and we should progress in a gradual and orderly manner. And eventually, the CE will be selected by a broadly representative NC in accordance with democratic procedures. And the NC will comprise people from all walks of life in Hong Kong, and there are 4 sectors. As for the number of candidates, we think that as long as we do not waste social resources, as long as it's fair and just, and as long as the its electricity will be acceptable, then there should be 2 to 3 candidates. As who is eligible, the central authorities have the power to appoint the CE. So the CE should be trusted by the central authorities, and he should fight for the welfare of Hong Kong people. Thank you. Members, do you have any questions? Ms. Emily Lau, followed by Ms. Helena Wong. Well, I would like to thank the deputations for sharing your views with us here. We started at 9 this morning, and the meeting will last till 7:30. We've had a lot of views. Mr. Feng Hokong said he's very pessimistic. He thinks that it's very difficult for us to forge consensus. I think after listening to the views just now, you will be more pessimistic. If you were listening to the views expressed this morning, you will be even more pessimistic. Now, Mr. Andrew Feng says that you agree to the basic principles outlined in the Consultation Document, but you want to add more principles. For example, allowing all political parties to take part, etc. I agree with you on these points. Just now, you've heard the deputations, in particular, the representatives of the trade unions. It seems that they all speak the same things. They all say that the candidate should love the country, love Hong Kong. So after listening to them, what do you think we can do? And Mr. Lim Wun Kwong said again today, do you think that everything will be ruined if we continue like this? I think there's a mistrust now. This is a complicated issue and it cannot be solved instantly. But if we do not trust each other, well, the pan-democrats do not trust the government, so that's why there is this suggestion of civil nomination. And also the pro-establishment camp does not trust the pan-democrats because they think that the pan-democrats will be fighting against the central authorities. So these problems cannot be resolved easily. Now, if we dwell on the selection methods all the time, then we would be guarding against each other. We think that the opposite party would just be posing obstacles. So can we be more relaxed? Can we look at the issue from a broader perspective? Now, if we have the same direction, that is, we want Hong Kong's governance to be better. We don't want to be confrontational all the time. So can we take a broader perspective? Now, somebody will think of it as a ruling coalition. So let's forget the past. Now, can we start afresh? Can we cooperate so that we can have a better Hong Kong? If we want to do that, we must collaborate. We can't fight all the time. Well, some people would favor fighting. They are not afraid of the opposite party, but this is not good for Hong Kong. Well, I think most of the people would want to have a better Hong Kong, would want Hong Kong to develop further. So if we have the same direction, then it's easier for us to come up with a good selection method. If we just dwell on fights or just how many candidates we want, etc., these are just trivials. Now we should set the direction first. We should forge consensus first. For example, well, some people would say that there is this dangerous tendency. Well, maybe we should just pull down everything. Well, now people have this worry. I'm sorry, please continue. Now, some people may think that, okay, we should just maintain the status quo. But the pan-democrats think that, oh, maybe we should just pull down everything. If there's no civil nomination, then we'll just scrap everything. But if that is the case, then it will take years for you to come back to the same stage. So how will the governance go on? And if we keep on fighting, and how will our housing problem be resolved? It's just a dead end. So instead of a dead end, why can't we come up with some solutions? I think we should all put aside our differences and we should sit down and try to reach a consensus. Ms. Elena Wong? I would like to thank the deputations for sharing their views with us. I would like to respond to Mr. Sham. Actually, he was very angry and he left. I hope he can take a look at the recording. Now, he warned the Democratic Party. Well, we are talking about universal suffrage. Of course, we respect the choice of voters. They will choose a political party to represent them. It doesn't matter. But the Democratic Party is fair and just, and we just support a true universal suffrage. We really hope that by 2017, the chief executive can be selected by universal suffrage, but that has to be a true universal suffrage. We do not want a fake one. Now, the Democratic Party has made it clear. If this is an election with pre-screening, then we would regard it as a fake universal suffrage, and we will not support that. We also support progressing in a gradual and orderly manner, but we have been talking about this for years. In the 80s, I was already pushing for universal suffrage, and now we're talking about 2017, and it's already 20 years after the handover. Now, if we're talking about Hong Kong will not change for 50 years, it's already halfway. And for the LegCo in 2020, and I think you all agree that this pace is too slow. And if we do not have universal suffrage in 2017, people will be disappointed. But we do not want a fake universal suffrage. Why does the DP want to promote universal suffrage? Because we think that is a solution for many of Hong Kong's problems, and it can improve governance in Hong Kong because the CE will have people's mandate. However, in the process of nomination, there are already a lot of grievances. Now, if the NC is controlled by a small group of people, then at the end of the day, there will not be any real competition, and the people would not feel that they don't have a choice when it comes to the CE candidates, and it's not lopsided towards a certain political party. Actually, I agree with you, Mr. Andrew Fung. Well, this must be truly politically competitive. This is the true spirit of democracy. So in the course of nomination, if we can allow people from different political parties to take part, and the process is fair and just, then I think the present problem can be resolved, and the DP will support this. But for the NC, does it really allow political parties to make nominations? Would there be civil nominations? We really hope that there can be a three-track approach. Then that would be the most lenient way of doing it. Allowing people with different political views to take part. Then people will not think that the NC adopts just one track. If that is the case, there will be no true universal suffrage, and we will end up with occupying Central, and Hong Kong will become a political city, and Hong Kong's economy cannot thrive. Later on, I would like to respond more to other speakers, but now my time is up. Mr. Andrew Fung. I would like to thank Ms. Helena Wong. I do not agree with you. You talk about true universal suffrage. I don't think there is a true universal suffrage or a fake universal suffrage. Politically, we do not use words like this. Now, we use the word full democracy, and the standards are those adopted by the UK or the US. But I also do not agree to that. There's no full democracy. The democracies are also criticized by people. Some people will talk about imperfect democracy. So in this world, each country would have to look at its actual situation, its own timing, and then it will design its own system. There would not be one single standard. The only one single standard is one person, one vote. That is equality. But when it comes to nomination, there is no equality. Well, if you want nomination equality, it's quite impossible. So it means that all the members of political parties would have the same weights, then it's impossible. So if you talk about true democracy or fake democracy, there will be a lot of negations, and we are getting nowhere. So we have to really think of a system that's acceptable to most of the people. Now, for this universal suffrage, if you say that, well, people can only adopt your concept of universal suffrage, I think that's not practical. Mr. Kwok Chong Man, time is up. I just let him supplement. Well, we don't want to fight. But ever since last Saturday, well, the Constitutional and Mainland Affairs Bureau, you are responsible for this consultation document. Now, for Article 45, it says that a broadly representative nominating committee. Well, this phrase is repeated in Annex 1. But in the Chinese version, the phrasing is a bit different. As for the NPCSC's decision, it's the same as Article 45. But a lot of people mix all this up. These two things are different, so there should be room for discussion. Well, today I do not want to talk about the CE. I want to talk about this electrical. Mr. Chow Lian Kiu. For the NC, whether it's representative, I am an election committee member. I represent the 23,000 members of my union. They pay their union fees every year. And I am given the power by the basic law. Now, you are a big party. You have talked about no change for 50 years. Now, before the handover, did Hong Kong people have the right to vote? So actually, we have made a major progress. We have to work things out slowly. Now, if you suddenly put forward a proposal and the central authorities do not agree to that, then what will happen? If you elect long hair, Hong Kong will collapse. We have to make a living. So we need to work within a framework. There will definitely be screening. Now, can you be a candidate for the U.S. presidency? Of course not. Now, you have to be a U.S. citizen. But I am a Hong Kong citizen. If there is screening, then there is a threshold. Now you talk about civil nomination. Is it stipulated in our law? No. Okay, you nominate 1,000 candidates. Then what will happen? Hong Kong will fall into chaos. And what if the elected person is not approved by the central authority? So we have to work within the legal framework. We have to discuss rationally. If we cannot achieve it right now, we can achieve it at the next stage.
Mr. Tony Chair. Yes, thank you, Chairman. I thank the deputations for coming and giving us their views. And I think a wide range of views on a wide range of issues have been expressed. But then I think many deputations do agree that the election method must be in compliance with the basic law and the NPCSC's decisions. And then concerning the membership of the election committee and the nominating committee, many deputations are of the view that the number of members can be increased, say to 1,600 or even more. And then some deputations are of the view that maybe more subsectors should be included. And now some deputations have suggested that the size of the NC should be 1,600. Some have said that there should be enhanced youth participation. So can they give us more details? Mr. Lo Shu-cheng did mention 1,600 members for the NC. So can I get more details from him? Mr. Lo, Chairman, concerning the increase from 1,200 to 1,600 members, we mainly make reference to the 4 sectors of the EC. Our union is of the view that concerning the professional sector and the business and commercial sector, there should be an extra 100 members for each sector. And then the political sector, electoral members, NPC members. Now, we are of the view that the number 300 can remain unchanged. And then concerning the remaining 500, they should come from the labor sector, the social welfare sector, the sports sector. And then egg and fish, religious, sports, publishing, culture, to be increased from 60 to 80. And then the remaining 180 should go to the labor sector. Now, why have we suggested this arrangement? We are of the view that for the 4 sectors, they mainly represent the views of the employers, and the labor sector hasn't got enough say. So we want to have more places for the labor sector. You can see that in LegCo, there are 3 labor FC members, but then for other FCs, usually there's only 1 LegCo member representing that FC. This is because we have a large number of employees in Hong Kong. So that's how we calculate the 1,600. Thank you. Chairman, I believe Mr. Orr suggested that there should be enhanced youth participation. So I want to know how he defines youth and why only youths and not other groups. Mr. Orr. Yes, Chairman. I think young people should be given a greater say. Anything else? Mr. Choi? I've got some questions. No. I'll give you time later to ask questions if we have time left. Ms. N. Chiang. I said I was having dinner, or I beg your pardon, I was having lunch with the wife of a very experienced practitioner in the financial services or in the security sector, and the lady said, in fact, that there was really no need for political reforms or democracy. So I want to say that different people have different views. Yes, different people have different political beliefs. And in fact, say in a 4-person family, the 4 members may have very different views as to which film the family should watch. So many people say they want universal suffrage, and they say they want universal suffrage because they want democracy. But what is democracy, and why do we want democracy? Now, I believe we all want democracy. Democracy is about human rights, freedoms, and the rule of law. And do we have these in Hong Kong? Now, in 2013, Freedom House conducted a survey. You can go to my Facebook account, and you'll see that Hong Kong, in fact, gets the highest score in this region in terms of human rights, rule of law, and liberty. So, what sort of democracy are we fighting for? Some people say that we also want procedural democracy. So in fact, we've reached a very high level. So it's like a young person. We've reached or we've completed university level already. But we want to have the formal procedures, right? Primary, secondary, and then tertiary education. So now we've come to this stage of development. And some say that the arrangements outlined in the Basic Law are fake, not genuine. As Mr. Fong has pointed out, there is no fake democracy or true democracy as such. Now, and where in the world can we find perfect electoral systems or arrangements? Now, in fact, different electoral systems have their strengths and drawbacks. And in fact, people do have concerns about the impact of the electoral systems on the economy. We are not like Middle East countries. We don't have a lot of natural resources. And we as an economy can't solely rely on domestic in demand. And so I would like to hear the deputation's views on this. Now, there are people who do not support the arrangements, and they would say, let's not progress. Let's just keep the status quo. And do you think Hong Kong will become ungovernable? Mr. Chen Chi-chun, Chairman, Ms. Chang said many times that she met a friend, and that friend said she didn't want universal suffrage. Yes, there are bound to be such people. And there are also people who want the imperial system to be reinstated. And if your party doesn't support any proposal, then of course we'll just have to maintain the status quo. Now, in fact, I've heard your views. Yes, my views are not the same as yours, but I just want to know whether I can address some of your concerns. Now, Mr. So, I agree that in a company, if the CEO is always at loggerheads of the boss, then the company will not prosper. Now, but in Hong Kong, C.Y. Leung is the CEO, but then who's the boss? In our view, the boss is the 7 million people in Hong Kong, but maybe in your view, the boss is the CPG. To us, the boss is the people of Hong Kong. That's why we need to elect a CE acceptable to the people of Hong Kong. And then you said, that would be a disaster if long hair was elected. Now, it's quite unlikely that long hair will be elected. But then if there are many people who support long hair, then it would be unreasonable to screen him out as a candidate. And then you may ask, what if there will be a disaster if one who doesn't love Hong Kong, doesn't love the country, is elected, and the CPG will refuse to appoint him. But then you're always saying that Hong Kong people are rational, they know what to do, and so I don't understand how come Hong Kong people will elect someone who doesn't love Hong Kong and doesn't love the country. Now, there are over 7 million people in Hong Kong. They have different views. Now, I think when we discuss matters, there must be a legal basis. In Hong Kong, we have the rule of law. We need to respect the law. Civic nominations. This is not found in the Basic Law. The Basic Law only mentions the nominating committee. So we need to have discussions within the prescribed framework. Now, yes, there are many Democrats in this council. You can't just say, oh, let's occupy Central, let's take to the streets. You receive allowances, you receive pay. If there is chaos, if there is unrest in Hong Kong, we will not have work to do. You said that changes had occurred slowly. Chen Chi-chin, look at history. Before the reunification, we didn't have the right to vote. In the construction sites, we were scolded by the foreigners. Now, if you can't achieve what you want to achieve, it doesn't mean that we'll just maintain the status quo. We can just progress gradually. Now, so can I tell you, if there are only two options, civic nominations versus status quo, so what will you choose? But you have to look at whether there is a legal basis. Now, we can't just simply have discussions wildly. We must have rational discussions within a prescribed framework. And let's see whether we can come to a consensus. Let's try to come to a consensus. Mr. Chen, I think you've got it wrong. Hong Kong is not an independent country. Yes, if it's an independent country, then of course the president elected has to be accountable to the people. But then in Hong Kong, we are a district administration. We are accountable to the CPG. We are only an SAR. The Basic Law states that the Hong Kong SAR government is under the Central People's Government. So the CE has to be accountable to the CPG. But my question is why you're so worried that Hong Kong people will choose or elect a CE not acceptable to the CPG. You're saying that Hong Kong people are rational. Now you have to design systems which can work. You have to elect a CE who can work with the CPG, whom the CPG trusts. Now if the CE is not acceptable to the CPG, if the CPG keeps ordering this CE to go to Beijing, and if this CPG has to keep scolding the CE, then things won't work. You're too idealistic. Those people are so worried. So why is it that civic nominations will make Hong Kong ungovernable? So what good will you do to Hong Kong if all Hong Kong people feel pessimistic about the future? And I want to say that we're talking about election democracy here. And election democracy can't guarantee harmony in society or good governance. So we should also look at liberal democracy or quality democracy, human rights, freedoms, rule of law. These are not equivalent to democracy, but then they can help make democracy good. In fact, we have all the good conditions here. We have different types of freedoms. We have the rule of law. The education level of the society is high. And so with all these conditions, the advantages of democracy can be maximized. But then we must also have politicians working for the good of Hong Kong and not for the good of their respective political parties. If politicians just want to win applause, if they do not make Hong Kong's well-being their paramount concern, then there will be trouble. We're not talking up, not only, we are looking at 2017, 2027. We are working for, now of course if we all work for the good of Hong Kong, if we all look into the future, then there can be cooperation. Why can't there be cooperation? Mandela was able to work with the white people. So many black people were in prison, so many were killed, and yet Mandela was able to put aside his sufferings. In Hong Kong, there is no persecution. So why is it that we always want to fight? Why is it that we always want to quarrel? Why is it that we always want to win? So don't just stand on moral high ground. Let's all be pragmatic and try to resolve the problems. We in Hong Kong need political talents who can resolve major problems, major issues. Ms. Priscilla Leung. No, I think most of us here want to see universal suffrage in 2017. Now, if we talk about true universal suffrage, fake universal suffrage, then we are just confusing the public and will not be contributing to the achieving of this objective. Now, universal suffrage has to be based on the legal framework. There must be a constitutional basis for democracy. Now, unless you want bloodshed, you don't accept the system or the institutions. Otherwise, there must be a constitutional basis. And in Hong Kong, you must conform with the basic law, or you will not be able to achieve anything. Mr. Chen Chi-chun seems to suggest that if there is no civic nomination and there is no democracy, there is no universal suffrage. No. Civic nomination is just one option, but the basic law hasn't specified this option. Now, in fact, the CPG and many Hong Kong people were involved in the drafting of the basic law, and the nominating committee was specified. Now, in fact, Hong Kong should not waste its time. Most people want to see universal suffrage. We do not want to see people resorting to illegal means and occupy Central. 2017 is only the beginning. It's not the end. Now, look at Article 45 of the Basic Law. It promises that there will be universal suffrage, but no timetable is specified in the Basic Law. So we tried to fight for a timetable, and then there was the NPCSC's decision, and then in 2017, the CE may be elected by universal suffrage, and then there may be universal suffrage for the electoral election, and then it is said that the nominating committee may, this composition may make reference to the composition of the EC.
I think the nominating committee is a good thing. We must not demonize it. The four sectors of the nominating committee represent the interests of Hong Kong. It's not the CPG's interest. Now, day before yesterday, I was on the radio discussing the policy address. Many people phoned in. They are worried about populism, and they are afraid that taxes might be increased. There was an academic. He said there has been so many new benefits. I said this is not the matter of about the CE. Most of us are popularly elected. Now, the democracy develop, but you can see that very few Western economies have Hong Kong's low tax rate. Hong Kong must adapt gradually. The Central People's Government is a stakeholder, and you must secure the vote of 2/3 of the legislative members. Now, in the middle, there's a safety valve. So, the political change in this manner is a good thing. You must not turn it down right away. Now, it's a good path forward to the 2017 universal suffrage. Mr. Ellen Leong, now, given the time limit, I would like to discuss with Mr. Fong Kwok Leung. He said that we are pursuing a very idealistic realm that can appear in 10 or 20 years. Why do we need to be so argumentative now? But actually, Hong Kong is now at a very serious stage. We are asking for one person, one vote, genuine universal suffrage, to resolve the problem of a CE that is not broadly acceptable. This is not an idealistic, abstract state that we are seeking. I do not know how Mr. Fong assesses the 3 terms of CE since reunification. I think their governance have been ineffective, and in fact, one term has been worse than the preceding term. Now, if the nominating committee will not drop the screening method, and then we see on the candidate list Tong Chi Wah, C.Y. Leung, and Donald Zhang, people like those, then how will that benefit Hong Kong? Now, won't you be concerned that these people will still serve the interests of the kingmakers? Because this small circle of 1,200 members will decide whether he will be able to run. Now, if these people continue to follow the wish of CPG, and we see there are 3 such CEs since reunification, how will we deal with such an outturn? Mr. Fong Kwok Leung? Mr. Leong may have misunderstood me. Now, I don't know whether you have read my written submission. I already said very clearly that there should be competition, so I'm support of a low threshold. I think we should not brand all Democrats as opposition. Now, many bills are supported by Democrats. It's just that some media reports have exaggerated and said that the Pan-Democrats oppose everything. Now, the Pan-Democrats do have a high level of support comparable to that of the pro-establishment camp. We should not try to screen them out, so I support a low threshold. So let's come to the specifics. The CPG is concerned that someone might be someone who opposes who is at loggerheads with the CPG. No, so it's a valid concern. Now, if a company has a CE that always opposes the board, then how can that work? So this is a reasonable concern. How can we let everyone feel assured that we will have good governance? Now, the pan-democrats must give a strong message that when they run, they want to participate in the governance of Hong Kong so that we can have good governance rather than to oppose China. And it must assure people that it will abide by the basic law and be responsible to the CPG. Nobody wants to be CE and then dismissed the next day from his office. Now, we must give a strong message that we want to run in order to govern Hong Kong, give Hong Kong better governance. Now, universal suffrage is imminent. How are we going to play the game and kick the ball into the goal? So I think increasing mutual trust is good for Hong Kong. Politics requires mutual trust. That's what Hong Kong lacks most. We just put barriers in the way of the other side. That's not meaningful. The members are here. I hope you demonstrate the wisdom and the broad-mindedness worthy of statesmen. Now, of course, there are many problems with China, but this can only be resolved by China and the Chinese people. But Hong Kong has to do its own thing and govern Hong Kong well. Now, if we don't do a good job running Hong Kong, how can we make the claim that we want the CPG to help us, that we want the board or the boss to help us? Now, the CPG has to resolve many problems. It doesn't want the Hong Kong people to cause more problems for it to handle. So Hong Kong people have to take matters into their own hands, and it must be pragmatic. They must be pragmatic. Time is almost up. We have to conclude the meeting in 7 minutes, Mr. Cheng. Now, I'd like to give an example. If the company wants to hire a CEO, will you select him by universal suffrage? Now, if all the staff select a CEO, suppose there is someone who is popular and yet he causes all kinds of trouble, will you let him be elected to be CEO and govern the whole company? And Mr. Chen Chi-chun seems to say that once we have universal suffrage, we'll resolve everything. What do you think of the situation in Taiwan and Thailand? Ms. Helena Wong, we're not running companies. We're talking about Hong Kong. Now, I think the people here support democracy and universal suffrage. Even within the CCP, they talk about democracy, but the system is not yet it's just that the system is not yet what they want. Now, even core people in the CCP write articles. For instance, Yu Keping wrote articles about democracy. Now, democracy, democratic jurisdictions have problems too. But the democratic system is the system that has the least bad points. Now, Article 45 of the Basic Law says that the CE will be selected by universal suffrage, and there is a timetable. The Basic Law stipulates that there will be universal suffrage, hopefully by 2020 or before that. Now, we are not talking about whether it's good to have universal suffrage, because we all agree that it's a good thing, even for China. Now, for instance, Taiwan has already had several terms of popularly elected presidents. They might have all kinds of arguments, but they are not in chaos. Thailand has its own political culture. I don't think that if we repress democracy, then you resolve all the problems. Now, we have a CE elected by a small circle, but does that mean we are free of problems? Now, there are many problems. If you elect a CCP member as CE, that person will be disliked. People will throw things at him. People don't like his team. Hong Kong will not have a harmonious society. So, in order to have harmonious society, we must a fair election mechanism to elect someone who everyone thinks can represent Hong Kong. Now, people are concerned that the person elected might keep opposing the CPG. I'm not worried about that. Let's trust in the Hong Kong people. People are pragmatic. We should not rule out Chiang Mo or Long Hair or whoever. I agree with what Mr. Fong Kwok Keung said. Low threshold. Now, let everything be exposed to light. Now, everyone has to spell out his political platform, how he is accountable to the CPG, to the Hong Kong people, how will he resolve economic problems, how will he resolve the conflicts. Then the Hong Kong people can select one that they think will be most helpful to Hong Kong. So we must not negate democratic universal suffrage at this point. Now, some people say that universal suffrage should not be classified as genuine or fake. I don't agree with that. I can't accept that democracy or universal suffrage cannot be distinguished between real and fake. Now, if the nomination procedure already screens out popular candidates, then that is clearly negative. So let's not say let's try out the fake democracy or universal suffrage first. I think there is no room to for tolerance. Ms. Priscilla Leung, I think we must follow the Constitution in the political development for Hong Kong. Hong Kong has one country, two systems. That's unique in the world. Now, only the system that benefits our territory is true democracy, true universal suffrage. Now, there are many groups, the different groups want their own proposals to be adopted. So the ultimate package will be a middle of the road package of solutions. Now, many people of Hong Kong are afraid of populism. Now, people are afraid that Hong Kong may have a large benefit budget deficits, so and poor finances in the future. So let's agree with Yu Keping. Democracy can be a good thing, but we must follow the constitutional basis. We must follow the basic law in a progressive manner. Now, we must maintain Hong Kong's edge in realizing universal suffrage. Apart from politics, there is also economics. Now, upon reunification, we continue to adopt the capitalist system. If we follow populism thinking, now as public nomination does, now many people, especially the business sector, are worried whether that's suitable for Hong Kong. Now, you must not depart from the basic law. Only that is genuine. If there's no constitutional basis, none in the basic law, then that's not genuine. Now, Hong Kong, the U.S. Has electoral votes. Now, that's because of historical reasons. Now, so Gore lost to George Bush. So every system has to be developed with reference to its historical development. So the U.S. system cannot be just adopted unchanged for Hong Kong. We must develop our own system. Now, even famous brands might not be suitable for us. We must all be winners. We must not have just one group of winners. So we must take a step backward. Now, the vote has to be on a 2/3 support basis. Now, and then the CPG has the right to veto. Now, and there are many different sectors. It's not just the pan-democratic camp. The future system must maintain Hong Kong's help to maintain Hong Kong's prosperity. Now, just now, Mr. Chu Hiu Kit seems to want to say something. You can have 1 minute, and then I will ask Mr. Lau to respond in summary. Now, a few members mentioned whether there can be an example of an ideal democratic system. Now, one that is best. Now, especially those who want direct election of CE, can they provide an answer? Now, Ms. Wong seemed to have said that Taiwan can be a good example. I'd like to ask, is the Taiwan system the model that should be duplicated for Hong Kong? Very often we see that in judgments, it said that the rule of law is dead. Now, elected officials are the center of controversy. Now, I'd like to ask, in the Catholic Church, the Pope is elected. Now, how is the Pope elected? Now, I'd like to ask LegCo members, what are your views?
Well, you have digressed from our topic, and due to the time constraints, I would like to ask Mr. Lau to make a comprehensive response. Now, I would like to thank the deputations for attending today's meeting. Just now we had a lot of communications concerning politics. And also a number of friends have mentioned the composition of the NC, and more members should be added. There should be more sectors, and you have also talked about a number of candidates, etc. I have jotted down all your opinions. And Article 45 of the Basic Law is also a very important element. Just now, Mr. Leming Yin asked if our views will be whether your views will be reflected truly. We will be collecting your views, and all your views will be reflected truly. Mr. Andrew Fong mentioned several principles, and there were a lot of discussions about these principles. And many representatives also put forward a point that's worthy of our consideration. Well, you know that there will be 5 steps. And if the government proposes a proposal to the LegCo, then the 70 LegCo members have the power to make a decision. So by that time, should members look at the overall interest of Hong Kong people instead of the interest of a certain political party? I've heard many representatives mention that point. And for this particular point, we had 4 banquets hosted by the CS, and different political party members were invited to the banquets. And those banquets were very useful because we had rational discussions. We were willing to speak, and we were willing to listen. The 70 LegCo members will have the power to make a decision in the future. Now, other than the discussions between political parties and the government, I think that there should also be more communications between the people and the political parties. This is very important. Now, some political parties have told us that the most important thing is people's aspirations. So voicing out today is the first step. I think this is the beginning. I hope that in the future, more people will speak out so that our discussions can be more in-depth. And more importantly, we hope that we can put together a proposal as soon as possible, and then we can achieve universal suffrage in 2017. And we hope that through our discussions, this can be achieved, and this will definitely benefit Hong Kong. Thank you. Session 5 ends here. I would like to thank the deputations for coming. Let's start session 6 right away.